is 5 days live, and say hello to Lynda, Lottie,
hello,
and Marco. And today is day 4, and I'm going to duck out of you in a minute because it's going to be crazy for the next hour, 45 minutes. And this is conducting interviews with Lottie, Lynda, and Marco. Enjoy.
Hello.
hey everybody. We are super excited to be here today. And you know what's cool is the internet. You never know what's going to happen. And today we're going to embark on some of this interesting stuff that, things aren't going as we planned, but the show is going on. So I'm Lynda Sunshine West. I'm excited to be here to talk about interviews. I've been interviewing people for 4 years. I've interviewed over 300 people so far, including the president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, Wesley Snipes on the red carpet. So that's my expertise in this. We're going to be diving into that. So Lottie and Marco, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Ladies first, please.
Well, while I remember to move the mirror out of the way, finish doing the lipstick, to unmute the microphone, all the little tech things we have to remember about live stream before we get the interview. Hello, I'm Lottie Hearn, and we may have even just lost Lynda there, not quite sure. Yeah. Stephen was just saying to us, Marco, that apparently the US have lost Facebook today.
Yeah, Portugal also. We have some issues.
You see, I haven't been on it today because I've been working on another project this morning. But as soon as I clicked in, I can see the Facebook here in Ireland. I think we're okay. But I know we're the center of Facebook in Europe here in Ireland. HQ is here, so maybe we're okay.
Yeah, not UK.
but not the UK and not in America. So if Lynda has a problem getting back in, I know we're live in YouTube, but this is for the replay, sending back to Facebook, and we're connecting. This tool that we're using that you've been chatting about this week is called be.live, be.live, and we've been members for ages. Hence, Stephen knows us all and goes, whoosh, come on, you're going to come and host a fun show with us. So, Marco, how are you feeling since yesterday? What were the key learnings you got from our conference yesterday?
Really nice keys. And one thing that making the link between the show yesterday and today, it's that we have to give that confidence to our guests. I've been hosting more than 100 guests from across I guess 15 or 16 different countries, different time zones, different languages, and I've been learning a lot because there's so many things to face when you are preparing and making a live show that I've been learning a lot. I made a show about it will make the 100th episode will be in the next week. I made Tuesday the episode 99. So next week there will be 100 episode.
Are you going to have a 100th birthday party?
Yeah, I should. If you want to join, I'll be pleased to have you. And in the 22nd of January, that's my 2nd anniversary of my show. So you see that I'm making about 2 shows a week, and I've been learning a lot about this. It was a nice way. It is a nice way for you to build your brand, your personal brand or corporate brand, to have guests on your show because they bring some other points of view, some other perspectives, some other knowledge that you can share with your audience, and also they can bring their audience for them to know you.
Well, it's all the connection. Yesterday was about confidence. Today, I feel, is like about the connection. We spoke about it a lot yesterday, Marco. But for me, having started as a TV presenter, as a speaker on stage, have been interviewed on TV, radio. I've interviewed thousands of people all around the world, from Australia, New Zealand, UK, America, India. between my own shows live with Lottie and Facebook shows and Ladies Go Live for 2 years, where we were doing nearly a show every week for that as well. And then working with Stephen and Brigetti and the whole fantastic be.live team. It's just been such a joy. I think this is live in 5 days live training. I'm getting there's be.live in 5, and then there's 5 days live training, which was started, Brigetti and Stephen started, I think earlier this year or last year. I think this is number 3 or 4 of these, and it's some of the top people from across be.live that Stephen is connected with, and that's the lovely connections. And it's always great seeing new faces and meeting you yesterday for the first time.
Yeah,
Rocco, it's brilliant. And then learning that we're all actually going through exactly the same issues, exactly the same challenges, no matter what level of live you're at. Absolutely. Starting to go live, growing live, or pro live, that everybody has the issues. And yay, we've got our hostess with the mostess back, Lynda.
hello.
I'm
so
back.
That's us. We've just been telling about us, Lynda. Down to you.
Awesome.
You can intro you now.
I gave a brief intro. Like it's not like about me, right? It's important, like what we're talking about today. And I wanted to share something really quickly, because oftentimes what happens is I want to talk about this, and this is not on our agenda, ladies and gentlemen, but I want to talk about this because what just happened is I disappeared. Okay. Now this has happened to me before during a live video interview. And, I live in the mountains, and so spotty. Sometimes I get kicked off. I never know when that's going to happen. So there was this one time that I was fearful that I might get kicked off during an interview. So I told the guest right before we went on, like a minute before, I might get kicked. Happens, just keep going as if it was planned. And you know what? He pulled it off like it was perfect, because it was so funny. I would ask him a question, and right after I finished that question, my internet kicked me out. And it wasn't planned, but it looked like it was. And he just kept going. So my point here is I want to ask you this question. What happens when something like that is not planned happens? How do you handle that situation? You'll oftentimes get frustrated, upset. And even though I was the hostess and I got kicked off, the internet kept going. The connection was still there. The guest was still on. So it's not like I could just give up, because they were still there. So how do you guys handle a situation like that? Has that ever happened? And it was funny because at the very end of the interview, it literally lasted half hour, which is what I wanted. And I said, okay, well, thank goodness that's over, to him. And he said, it was perfect because you dropped out right after you asked me the question. I just kept going until you popped back in. It was so funny. So how do you guys handle that kind of situation?
Lottie.
Okay, it's fascinating because having done it stage and screen, live on stage, live on screen here with live stream, it's one of those things that you can never 100% rely on the technology, even though most of the time it's brilliant. And we in Ireland, because I was just saying to Marco, we've got the headquarters of Facebook here in Dublin. So it's literally just down the road over there. So we're quite lucky with that. But the Wi-Fi can drop out when there's a storm raging in from the sea against my office window. Yeah. The Wi-Fi can go like that. So the number one thing that I tend to do is I like to help the interview person that I'm having. If they're brand new, a top tip I always say for that is give them some support, some help. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour before you go live. Get on screen, make sure they know what you're going to be discussing, and let them know if it happens, you can keep chatting because you may have a mini agenda. Now, I know one of our topics today, Lynda, is to prepare or not to prepare. So without leaping into that one, but that's my top tip. If they're new to it, give them an idea of what to do. If they're experienced, trust the fact they're going to take over and do it their way anyway, and they will be fabulous.
Yeah. For instance, I have a document, a kind of guideline that I sent to my guests. Look, almost all of them don't look at the document, but at least I made my job with some guidelines to make it right. For instance, not Windows open, ask the people to not interrupt and that kind of stuff, how to connect with a cable, not Wi-Fi, and so on. And usually also I ask them to be there before 10 minutes, 15 minutes before we go live, because for me it's good to, as you said, to, well, we're going to talk about this and this, and to make a kind of warm up to begin. I think for me it's really important to begin in the same tone, because if you come in the hour we should start, you'll be stressed, you'll be, oh my god, will it be there? Thankfully I never had a guest who told me I'm gonna be there and he didn't. Thankfully we have some lives who we needed to cancel it because of technical issues, but it was not. Yes, sometimes it happens, but thankfully I never had to cancel a live because the guest didn't show up. Yes, I have that kind of problem that I get kicked off because my internet went down, because my computer went down, and that's one of the points I cover on my document. If I disappear, keep going. Keep going. It could happen. It could happen that my guest is kicked off, and then I take the lead of the show. But it's normal. One thing I used to say and to my guests while I'm doing live, it's everything could happen. Take it that it's the only thing that you could have for granted. And if you have this mindset, I think you will face the problems in a easiest way, in a smoother way. You don't get, oh my god, what I gotta do now, it's the end of the world, because it's not
the end of the world. I think Lynda was back, and then we've lost her, and we've got Lynda back again.
Hello.
So Lynda, what have been your biggest disasters then, like technical glitches? Because we've lost her again. But yeah, I agree with you, Marco, that I think whether it is a document or whether it's even just a Facebook Messenger or text message, however you're communicating, what I always like to find out is, how does my guest, my interviewee, most like to be communicated? If it's via a text message, via email, via Facebook message, I do that, and little messages to say, if this happens, we can do that. And here's the Facebook Messenger for safety, if you're really not sure, but we can always type a quick message. And I go live, it's happened, and I say to my people live, if you hear, I'm just messaging my guests, trying to get them back. Hey, this is the fun of live stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lynda, how about
it's
what do you do?
Yeah, what's interesting for me is my approach is different. I don't come into it prepared myself. I don't prepare my guests, and here's the reason. So my whole platform is about fear, is about facing fear, is about jumping through your fear. It's called Women Action Takers. That's what my platform is, and because of that, it's kind of weird, but I don't prepare them because I want them to break through that fear barrier. I want them to know what it's like to not be prepared and just do. And so because that is my platform, I don't go through all the preparing and all that stuff. And, even when I interviewed the president of Mexico, I wasn't prepared for that, because whatever my guest answers, I want my response to really be like, wow, I'm curious about that. I go in full on, I don't know you, I don't know who you are, I don't know what you do, and I want to pretend like we're having a first-time conversation, because we are. So when because I did prepare myself previously, and I found myself nervous that, oh my God, they had all these, because I used to say, what questions do you want me to ask you? And I would ask those questions, and I felt like, questions do you want? I felt like a freaking robot, and it's just not, it's not me. And that's the important thing, is to be you. And so we have all these, we can have all these rules that we follow, but for me, the rules make me not me. So for me, it works to not be prepared. And the point here is that everybody has a different style. There is no right style. There is no wrong style. For you to do your live video, and for you to interview people, and for you to be able to bring them up on camera, give them an opportunity to shine, because that's what the interviews are really all about, is giving your guests an opportunity to shine. So that's my take on it, and it's probably different than a lot of people, but that's my take on it. And so you can take it or leave it. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's what I believe, and that's what works for me.
I think, Lynda, when you're at the level that you know exactly what you're doing, I think everybody knows their own style. And that's, again, what I love to help people with, like you. I love that action takers, Lynda. I think that's such a great way to do it, is that I'm here to help you take action. For me as a trainer and as a coach, I've seen so many different ways, whether people are visual or auditory, kinesthetic, whether they are a driver, an influencer, whether they're more slow paced and they like to read. So it's kind of interesting over the years, like 30 odd years of training, knowledge and skills, that I think it all depends on that person. And I love it. Like, I know when you and I did a show last time round, we didn't prepare. We just went, Stephen, here are the topics we're going to talk about. And we'd just talk about them and we'll give advice along the way. And it worked really well. But I also know that there are some people whose learning style and confidence, as Marco said at the very beginning here, comes from having that prep. So I think it's all very much like yesterday. I had a couple of different things. Mm-hmm. Today, because there's three of us, I created this because I learned that doing Ladies Go Live, to actually create. And there's only 3 key titles and a bonus if we have time. But what I've actually got on here are the sorts of questions we could cover off. And especially because Lynda was our hostess with the mostess. And I know, poor thing, she's being cut off left, right and centre. But we've kind of, Stephen, we've actually almost jumped into topic number 2, the interview prep, to prepare or not to prepare. So Lynda, do you want to take the lead on that one? I know because you were just talking about it. So questions I had as challenge were how to prepare, how do we connect to a guest, how do we choose the platform we're going to go live on, what's the difference between the research that you may or may not do? Is it from different levels of interview skills? So those, and what's the ultimate prep that you would do if somebody asked for some help?
All 3 going to for the audience to realize, again, there is no right way, there is no wrong way. And because I help coach people through fears, the right way is to just, right, is to get yourself out there, to do it, to put yourself out there, because you don't become an expert by not doing something. You have to do it and do it and over. And just Stephen and I actually used to have a show called Just Do It. And we were every single week about just doing it. And there were a lot of circumstances that happened that sometimes might have prevented us from going forward, but we just did it, you know. So here's the thing is, find the platform that works for you. Some people are going to say, use this one. Some are going to say, use that one. And you know what? Just use them, try them, see what works for you, and then keep working on the one that worked best. You will get better and better and better as time goes on, and have fun with it. Have fun with it. I interview people because I love it. I don't make any money doing interviews. I do it because I absolutely love it, because I love to share people with the world. That's my purpose for doing the interview. It's nothing more than that. And so find, like, what's your reason then? It can be, you know, business related, whatever it is, whatever your reason is, just do it though. That's my take on, like, the whole, wrap that whole thing up and tie it with a bow. Just do it.
It's constantly that, as we were saying yesterday, you've got to get on camera, you've got to do it. So kind of thinking about the interview side of things, Marco, I know you were saying, so you were kind of teasing some ideas of what you like to do, to how to prepare and how to connect to a guest. But bearing in mind, I know we've swung the agenda around. So prep or not to prep for you, what do you prefer to do, and how do you do it? What's your number one process?
I like to chat with my guest and tell them, look, we can do this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. How do you want to make it? Because there's one thing that I think is different from you. We are Latins and we have a different mindset. We don't, as I was talking before the show goes on with Stephen, we used to be shy on camera. When I ask people, well, do you want to be my guest? This time I don't have that problem more, or at least as I had before, because people knows how I make it. They know that usually my guests have a great time doing this, so they are more confident about me. But usually people from the south of Europe are a little bit shy in front of camera, so I don't ask them, well, you have to do it as I want, because I'm the host and I'm the chief. but yeah, I used to tell them the different ways they could do this. And if, for instance, is someone that I know that he's okay on camera, is confident, I know the issue that if you're gonna talk, I'm good with that also. It's more freestyle, for instance. If it's something more specific that I don't have the knowledge to do this way, I ask them, well, let's make a chat before go live, or one day before, to even to test the platform to see if everything is okay, because sometimes issues may come because the camera didn't connect, the sound doesn't work, and so on. So I like to, but mostly I guess the big advice that I could give you to those who are watching you, by your experience, show your guest everything that is on the table for him or her, because they will feel comfortable and they see, oh, this guy knows what he is doing. Because if I have so many scenarios, and of course explain why you the advantage and disadvantages of each one of them, and make them comfortable to choose, because that's it. As Lynda said, it's about your guest to shine, not for you to shine. It's something important. I guess we'll discuss about this in a while, but it's really important, because if you start, hola, hello, well, I was speaking in Portuguese or in Spanish, hello, how are you, let's go to the show, and your guest is, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I liked because it's different here in the south of Europe, and Latin people, we are not so confident in front of the camera. I'm aware of it, so I have to embrace my guest and look, come here, I'm here to help you. Take my hand and I lead you. That's the key point here.
Yeah, Lottie.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to tweet out to everybody to say, hey, Facebook's down. Come and join us on YouTube. But Marco, can I just get your Twitter handle, please? And I can tweet in a second.
MFC Novo. Novo.
MFC Novo. And Lynda, what's your Twitter?
I don't.
Not on Twitter. Never mind. Well, I'm at press play press. I'm just about to tweet something out with a link to this show. So that's, again, part of interview prep. Cool. That, for me, is a really important thing to find out, because my job as an interviewer is to big up my interviewee. They have kindly offered me their time, their knowledge, their skills, their know-how. So my responsibility, I always feel, I don't know whether you feel the same thing, guys, is to big them up so they don't have to. So it's really important for me that I know all of your social media if you're my guest. I want to know, are you on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube? Where are you? Instagram? So that I can, while the show is on, you'll often see Stephen will be putting up lower thirds for us if people are asking questions. And hello, Stephen, thank you very much for being there in the chat box. But you'll see Stephen is producing the show for us, which is lovely. Normally we do it on our own. So I like to be able to have those so I can pop up your Facebook page, pop up your website. So I have all of that information in advance. So that's my number one tip. Whether you're a beginner interviewer, an intermediate, or an advanced interviewer, is get the information and find out from that person, what would you like me to promote most for you? Is it a book, an online program? Is it you're speaking at this event? What is it? Is it that you want to just simply grow a community and you just want new friends to follow you on Facebook so that you can grow that new community? And I think that's, for me, is really important, is that, yeah, even like you, Lynda, interviewing people on television, half the time you couldn't prep them, but you could kind of make them feel at ease and feel comfortable. And by saying, as we said yesterday, if things go wrong, don't worry, I will be laughing at myself and making you look fabulous anyway, because that's my job. You don't need to worry about it. And all you need to do is to help to be open to me teasing things out of you. And is it okay if I share that secret about you? You told me the story. Is it okay if I share it? And then what I might do is during the show, I might be going, well, look, this is something that Lynda actually said to me before the show. And Lynda, can I tell them your fantastic news? And then hopefully you'd share it yourself, Lynda, anyway there. So if you were asked that, what would happen for you? What kind of things would you do with that?
If I was, I'm like, yeah, share away. I'm an open book. I'm an open book. So, I share everything anyway. So it's probably already hit the news, so to speak. But, I wanted to talk about that, because here we are talking about preparing our guests. Like I don't prepare my guests, but I have an intake form that I send out, because I do want to capture all your social media. I do want to have like just a short bio. I ask them for literally 3 to short sentences for their bio, because I don't want your whole life story. I just want to know just the short highlights of you. Like, what are your social media links? So I use a form called Jot Form, and I'd love for you guys to share with the audience what they use. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, what's Jot Form? I don't know what that is. And if you're interested in getting a copy, I can clone my Jot Form and send it to you so you can use it as to start off. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead in the comments there, say, I'd like your Jot Form, and I will send it to you, and we'll connect and everything. But what do you two use to get that information from your guests prior to going live?
Well, usually I ask them directly, and I do my own research. But usually I ask my guests to introduce them. They will do this own introduction usually in my show. But for instance,
okay, so how do you get their headshot? How do you get their social media links? How do you get all that stuff ahead of time? Or
yeah. Well, for instance, because when I do my promotion posts, I tag them with his user on the platform, so people can follow and reach them out to see who they are and what they are doing. But usually they are people that I know close to me, even though some of them are people well known. But it's my own job to do that research.
Okay. So do you use a form though that you get information with, or where do you? And just for the audience, because there's we have people listening right now who don't know how to gather that information. So if we can share with them, how they can compile the information, like where do you just use a Word document? What do you use to compile the information?
Well, I don't use any documents. Sorry. I very.
You just keep it all in memory? Oh my God!
With that,
yeah.
But that's the different level. I think that's the different levels of it. Like I like you, Lynda, because I learned through Ladies Go Live that we should be having broadcast release agreements, as we used to say at Ladies Go Live, our supportive bras, which is our broadcast release agreement. So we used to use Jot Form for that, because the Jot Form, I love it as well, Lynda. People can fill it out online. They can tick the boxes. They could sign a signature that they agree. And we always used to say that whenever anybody comes on the show, it's a mutually beneficial promotion of what we're each doing. So we get guests to commit to please retweet, please share, please, if I write a LinkedIn article, please commit to sharing that out. But then the two easiest ways, I think, if you don't have a Jot Form, it's free, by the way. So that's why it's even better, folks. You can set it all up for free. But the two easiest ways are Excel spreadsheets, because you can track everything there, and you can also track on a separate tab, you can track where you're posting, so the pre-show promo. Because I always like, if you're going to ask for a guest's time, at my level now, I've been doing this for such a long time, I always feel that I should be give back and saying, I commit to doing X many tweets, doing X many Facebook posts, to sharing it out to 1, 2, 3, 4 groups and 1, 2, 3 pages. Please, will you commit to share it out with your community? And by kind of showing people in a, as you said, a Word document is fine, Lynda. That's if that's what you use. Otherwise, the other way we do it is what I found out from our live legals, both from Mitch Jackson in the US and Sarah Fox, our Ladies Go Live legals experts last year, is that even messages that you send back and forward via Facebook Messenger, copy them and put them into a document, because that is a legal agreement that somebody agrees to be on your show. And the easiest way of sharing photos, and like you say, 3 to 4 line bios, I agree with you, Lynda, that's all you really need. But I also then like to go and read people's LinkedIn pages. I like to go and find out the information, see their website, see what they're wanting to find out. And I always love on the website with the About Me, where it says, like I was joking with Marco yesterday, oh, he's a great wine lover, or Lynda loves meeting up with her friends and taking the dog out for a walk, or whatever it is. That it's not just, like you were saying, listening, that when you are interviewing, you're not just, here's my questions, I'm going to, right, so what do you like to do? And here's the next question, and here's the next question. And that I'm focused on my questions. No, it's all about properly listening and hearing what that guest is chatting about. And I think that, above anything, Lynda, I agree with you that that's the biggest learning of preparation that you can do, is to find out more. How can you tease more interesting, not just what you want to know, what do your viewers want to know? And if you don't know, ask them.
I want to talk briefly about something you mentioned there, and said like you'll go to their About Me or About It and stuff and read up on that, which I think is awesome. Way to go about that. But so what I wanted to talk about here is the interviewee from your part, because the other day I was interviewed on a show and they were mentioning things that I haven't done in years. I don't know where they found that information from. So the thing is that as an interviewee, it's also our job to make sure that we keep our social media updated, right? Because we might have an interviewer whose style is to go, case us and go find where are they, where stalk us and stuff, and to find out what we're doing. And so if our information isn't updated as an interviewee, like mine wasn't, I looked at my LinkedIn, it wasn't there. It wasn't on my Facebook. I don't know where they got that information from. They went deep into the bowels of my history to find out this information. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. So it was kind of a great like wake up call for me. But to the audience,
that's the old most. And Lynda, what you said at the very beginning is asking people for their bio. I think that's why, as a professional speaker, we have one-page layouts of here's a main photo, here's 2 or 3 other photos that you could use, here's a paragraph of bio, and here's all my social media links. And that's what we train professional speakers to be using, and it's called our one-pager. So I agree with you. It is our responsibility as an interviewee, as a good guest, to have that ready to provide for people. Even if you update it every month or 2, it's still there. But it gives options, I think, with different photos too.
Yeah, and hi Peter, good to see you today. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, the one sheet, one pager is called Different Things. I wanted to talk about something that's totally not on our agenda again, because that's how I roll. And so here's the thing: is I want you to remember. I want the both of you to remember, and I'm going to remember too. Remember to that very first interview. It was maybe sometimes like I'm interviewing people on stage, or it was an in-person interview where I did 26 interviews one day in person, and at an event. So whether it was an in-person one or it was a like this, or it was on stage. Remember back to your very first interview. And I want you to imagine the audience right now is all of them are going to experience their very first interview. Maybe they're a little bit nervous, maybe they're not. We can't decide whether they are or not. But I want you guys to like talk about what that was like. What kind of prep did you do back then? Because we often hear about the experts who are making millions and gazillions of dollars, and they're like, don't ever speak for free. Well, my question to them is, did you speak for free ever? Yeah. Well, then why are you telling people we're just starting out to never speak for free? You know, we have to start somewhere. So I want to know, what was your very first experience interviewing somebody? Some of the fumbles and the bumbles that you look back, you're like, oh, I could have done that differently. I just want to hear from you guys to see, like, how can we help the audience to take that leap, to do that first interview and realize that you do have to start somewhere.
Lottie.
Why did I knew you? I was just about to turn my phone on and go, Marco, because I'm going, oh God, it was such a long time ago. But I agree with you, Lynda. It's the, like, one of the important things as live streamers is always to remember there are viewers watching who are at different live levels. So taking it back to the beginning and just putting yourself back in those footsteps of you, it kind of does link in a way, Lynda, to what we do have as the first topic we were going to discuss, which is about the casting and how you choose your guests and what shows you choose to be a guest on. It all kind of does link together, really, because as a beginner interviewer or interviewee, I think the biggest thing to remember is, like Marco said, start with people that you know and people that you trust. Like, why, if you've only just started, you shouldn't be going to Brian Fanzo or to Marie Forleo and going, can I be on your show, please? Oh, let me on your show. I want to be on your, and vice versa. You shouldn't be just, I know, Marco, you had a great chat about this the other day. You shouldn't just be going, please come on my show. I want you, I need you. Remember, we all have to have something to give. We are all there for a reason, but the main reason that any of us are here is nothing to do with us here. It's all to do with you watching. So what help? Ask for the help. Ask your audience. What would you, I've got this guest coming on. They've come from that place, or they're an expert in dog grooming. What would you like to know? Are you a dog lover? What would you like to know about dog grooming? I've got another expert who actually is one of the world's leading stage presenters, a wonderful man, Terry Brock. He and his partner, Gina Carr, were here. And I had speakers coming to the studio here. And we did a live stream show because Gina's just started up Video Rockstars in another US one. And she's working on a new TEDx in Atlanta. Any Americans who are looking to speak in Atlanta TEDx's, this is a person to speak to. But it's all in that approach. So for me, the approach is polite, smiley, friendly, being a little bit self-effacing, and always focusing on making the other person more comfortable than you are. And somebody's dog heard the dog meant dog talk. I want to be dog groomed. I want to be dog groomed, Mom. I think it's that of basically going into it all with a sense of humor, so that if and as it does all go wrong, or the guest can't come on, and you've promised that you can simply step beyond it, because it happens, as we always say over here. So Marco, I don't know if any of that kind of rings a bell with you.
Yeah, some yes, some don't, because, for instance, Ask the Public doesn't work really good here, because we are really shy people. For instance, I can tell you that I could be talking about half an hour, people watching. Oh, do you have any doubts, any questions? Nobody talks. And for instance, sometimes I go on the street, look, Marco, hello, I love your videos, they help me. And why don't you tell me that while I'm there speaking? Well, I see, well, because I don't used to make any comments on social media and so on. I'm shy, and well, at least it's a kind of recognition, a thank you for doing that. But okay. So here it's really well, in some areas it's easiest, but on my marketing it's not easy to get people to comment and ask for topics and ask for guests and so on. It's really hard, but sometimes it works. I remember my first,
Okay.
yeah, I am talking about my first interview. It was with a girl from Mexico. It's close to you, Linda. It was amazing because at the beginning she was speaking Portuguese, but the accent from Brazil. It was really nice. I At the beginning I was always, it's that fear of it's is it good enough, or oh my god, it's not, I don't know what is happening here. But then the people started to engage, and it was at the end, whoa, it was amazing. I will never forget that, the 22nd of January 2017. And it was amazing. It was a really nice experience. And then, because one thing that I think it's important when you're starting, it's to find someone close to you, but that could help you open doors. It's really important because, and one thing also about guests is that, be aware that the interview you're making will be seen by lots of people, and will be it's today we are really close to other people. So if your guest doesn't have a nice experience, they will tell to someone, and that someone will tell to another one, and then you don't find guests to feed your show, and it could be a problem. Well, you could go to Mars to see if there's someone to to interview, but I guess would be
Martian.
yeah, it will be not so easy.
So
Yeah,
Lynda,
just really quickly, I'll
what are
share
your
mine, 'cause
secrets? What was your first time? Because I'd always say as well, I started in kids television, so working with kids and animals. Interviews, you just go wrong. It doesn't matter. Everything's gonna go wrong, but then you have to laugh at yourself. That's why I always say, have a sense of humor about it. And Lynda, what happened to you then?
Exactly.
For you to have this question?
Now, so my very first experience of interviewing. Now, prior to that, I had done a lot of live videos. I actually was highly encouraged to start doing videos from a friend of mine who was born with cerebral palsy. And one day he asked me to do a video. I was absolutely terrified. I had never been a person who would be in front of people. I would never speak out. I grew up in a lot of abuse, and that led me to stifle my voice and not say anything. I had a fears. That's why, in 2015, I faced a fear every single day because I needed to break through that. And that's why I help other women break through their fears. But I had done a lot of videos up to that point, but I didn't interview anybody because, again, I was scared to speak. I was asked questions out loud because like, what if I asked stupid questions? Those were like always the feelings going on in my head. So I was attending this event. It was like a business event, and I was with my mentor, and my mentor told everybody in our group, he said, okay, here's what you need to do today. You need to go out and meet 10 people and come back with 10 business cards. The person who comes back with the most business cards will win like a dinner, like he was giving away dinner for two or something like that. And I was so nervous because I had this fear about talking to people, this fear about meeting people. What is the conversation going to be about? So I put on my thinking cap. I said, well, shoot, I've done all these I've done all these videos. What if I just go out and interview people? That way I don't have to have a conversation with them. I'm interviewing them and I'm spotlighting them. And that's like my whole mindset of how I went into it. So I turned on my phone. I went out selfie mode. I had my selfie stick and I walked. And I said, hey, I'm doing a live interview, like live video. Can I interview you? And they were like, yeah, of course. And it was cool because what ended up happening is I interviewed 18 people. I got to know 18 people. I got 18 business cards. I shared 18 people with my audience that I had already been building for about 2 years. And I absolutely loved it because I got to be curious and ask questions because I'm a very person. What I found is that I'm able to ask questions that get people like, wow, I'm so glad you asked that question. Thank you. That's almost how every single interview ends because of my curiosity. So the point I'm making here is that I did something that I was scared to do, because of the challenge I was given. And that's what ended up happening for me to do interviews. And it's been absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad I was challenged to do something I was scared to do, and came up with a way to fight that challenge and to break through that fear that worked for me. And it ended up working for me. So interviews on mobile. Oh yeah, totally, Stephen, right? Because we have this device. It doesn't have to be on a selfie stick. It doesn't, you can hold it. You can do whatever. You can set it up on a bookshelf. I've done that before. There's so many ways that you can share with your audience the people you want to share with them. And like Lottie said, you know, you don't just reach out to those people who are high level and say, I want to have you on my show. You really need to think about what value are they going to get from being on my show. And so at the higher level they get, the more audience that they have, the less likely they're to be on your show until you have built up an audience. But with that said, don't let that stop you from thinking, because I've been be able to interview the president of Mexico. I don't have an audience that he's being in front of, but I asked and he said yes. So go out there and ask the people that you want to interview, but think about, like, what are they going to get from it? What value can I offer them? Always come from a place of value. Always come from a place of value. And I think with that, we're
Lynda,
at 7.
I've got a question here, please, on that one, because I love everything you're saying about your curiousness, your curiosity, and that there's no stupid questions. I totally agree with that. And I love the fact that you're talking about it's a community spotlight. So that's what I was it's linking, everything links back to, if you're prepared and you know, and you've got all their social media links, it's all there. But question then is, because one thing that I always find is, if I know I'm out at an event, and I call it my stream team, global live stream teaming, that I'm going to be doing interview after interview at a whole day event, the one thing that bugs me is when I get the same question, these are people who are from beginner to highly advanced speakers, and every single person, they ask the question in exactly this. So what are you doing here today? Why are you here? And I'd love to hear what are the opening questions? Like one of mine openings for the first person, and then each person I ask a question in a slightly different way. One might be a what, one might be a how, one might be a why, a who, a where, a when. But I always love opening with something a little bit different, because they're waiting for you to say, why are you here? What are you going to get from today's event? What are you going to learn the most? Who are you looking forward to listening to? I always love going up to people and saying, right, it's video bomb time. Tell us about you. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you love what you do? And then going into, so why are you here? What's in it for you? Because all we want to know is what's in it for me to watch this video, watch this interview right now, if we're really honest. So Lynda, how do you open, if you've got a series of questions, how do you open with each guest to make it a little bit different, or do you not worry about it?
I don't worry about much of anything really, but one question I'd like to ask, what are you passionate about? Because when we ask a person what they're passionate about, and we listen. I'm very good at listening for the words they're saying, because it's important for me as a curious person to be able to hear the nuances, to hear the things that they're not saying. So I'm really listening for what they're not saying, where my questions come from. But what are you passionate about? When we talk about passion, we get passionate about talking about it. And I want them to feel so comfortable, about whatever it is that we're talking about, that I want them to see that I really want to know about them. So it's always about the passion. But a lot of times I will start off the interview with, introduce yourself to the audience. What is it that you're all about? I want to know what you're all about. And then my questions go from there. I don't have any prepared questions, because all based on their answers, every single thing. And I tell them that at the beginning. I don't have any prepared questions. There's no agenda. My questions are going to be based on whatever you've responded to. Yeah.
Marco, for you, Marco, do you do live event interviews, or do you do multiple people interviews, or are yours mostly one person at a time? And whichever way, how do you like opening your interviews with people?
Well, I never did in live events interviews. Well, I will think about it. Because
Marco, next year, this year, Christmas
yeah,
time.
because I go often to events. Well, I'm a rebel. I like to do the things my way, because one of the things that people know for me, it's you will never know what's coming out. That's one thing that makes the difference. If you want to make the difference, you have to be different. You have to be you. And I'm joking all the time. I'm kidding all the time. So I have to put it on the screen also, because I know that if of course your guests should be aware that you are like that you used to act and put that tricky questions, that provocations, and so on, because I like to make it. But usually I don't have like you. I don't have a kind of script of questions. Okay, introducing it's one of them, but usually I like to go with the flow also. Of course, there's that difference, because if the my guest likes to have the script and likes to be on a safe path, okay, that's your choice, and I like to respect that. But usually I go with the flow, and because for instance I have some plan on my head. Next one I'll be asking you, but while you're talking, something pops out, and okay, let me get that point, and let's talk about it. Because as Lynda said, and for me it's really important, you should be a good listener, and to catch, look, good point, let's talk about it. Because one thing that we should be aware also when you're interviewing, it's also, even though it's not the main question, it is also a question. It's also about you, and you as a host, you should shine a little bit also, because people, oh, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. He knows, she knows. It's important also, and it's in these little things that you do that brightness, if you can call that, will come out. Because it's also, for instance, I have a guest. I talked with him several times, and he was a shy guy, really low profile. And then he came to my show, and I was acting pa 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 pa. The 1 week after, I've been with him in person. Hey, tell me, how do you the interview I was for you? Oh, it was nice, because you made me think in things that I usually don't think about it. You gave me another point of view of the things, and it's also really important to think about it, to be a good listener, and it's the way the host has to shine also.
And I want to just really quickly introduce the audience to interviewing, not only here live like this, but also at events, because Lottie brought that up. And what's cool about interviewing people at events is that you now are a part of the event team, and they love to be able to showcase their guests or showcase their speakers. So if this is something that remotely interests you, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's this event coming up in town this week, or there's an event coming down in 3 months, reach out to the person who's the organizer of the event and say, hey, I have an audience, who's interested in hearing what your audience has to share. So now you're providing value for that event. This is also one great way to get into events for free, because you are providing a tremendous value by showcasing. I like to interview their guests as well as their speakers. So that's one way. It's like I said, to get into events for free. That's not why I do it. I do it because I love to interview people. But it's
Lynda,
a really fun way
of that as well is the fact that if you're wandering around, excuse me 1 second, but when you're wandering around with a monopod and a bright orange thing like this, A, you can't be missed, but B, the fact that most speakers most speakers on stage want to speak about themselves and promote something. So if you give them a platform and an opportunity at an event to do that, and the great thing with that, Lynda, that I've learned, and Marco, you will, is that yes, you can get to go to the event, but it may be if they don't have a budget, you can be there as a community give backer. That is really appreciated. They often invite you back next year. Then often like 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, where they do have budget for it, I've been asked to speak at events, and I've been paid as a speaker then because they've seen me doing that throughout the time. And I've actually been at events where a massively paid budgeted sponsor, because they were the sponsors of this company that creates promo videos, they had their formal setup area and were interviewing everybody. But because I'm running around with this and a monopod and a microphone and a little light, like this one that I've got on the stage, on the side of me here, I was getting loads more live views, and the organizers of the events were saying to me afterwards, for God's sake, Lottie, we should have just got you. Oh, there we go. That's kind of saying, cancel that. Yeah. Pause. Away. There we go.
Keep going.
45 minutes. We're okay. Yeah, sorry. So just to finish that point, because it's a massive point on what you were saying, Lynda, as well, is that the organizers, when they've got money, they will remember that you have given and supported them in the past, and that they're often quite likely going to put your logo or your business plan. And it's another platform. So we're going stage to screen, back to stage again. You are the expert in your area, but this is another way of adding on to the business that you're doing virtually online. And actually, while you guys while I was listening to you guys, you might have seen me, folks. People often ask me, what do you do when you're listening? Because this is kind of like building the balance in the show of when somebody else is talking, what do you do? Do I sit there going, or do I look at them down here? And then I'm looking down here, but then we're seeing the top of the head. And also, both of you mentioned about, see, it's gone. When that kind of thing happens, what do you do so where do you look? How do you interact when you're listening? And then what do you do if your brain goes blank? Lynda, what's your tips on those?
Well, so my answer on this is that we have only 3 minutes left. And so we're going to have to table that to the next 5 days live training. So it's a teaser. And then also, just really quickly, I wanted to share that there's also ways to monetize your interviews. The year before last, I didn't even know what I was doing. I made $18,000 by interviewing people. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me, and I'd love to share that with you. We don't have time to share that today. But tomorrow's show on 5 days, we got the 5 days live training. We have show presentation and green screens. That's at 10 Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time with Brigitte, Tina, and Steven. You guys tune in for that because it's going to be an absolutely amazing show. Are green screens necessary? They're going to talk about that. Are they not necessary? I don't have a green screen. Oh, by the way, this backdrop right here, I get comments on this backdrop all the time, which is funny. I spent $60 on this at Target. It's one of those 4-by-wall screens, and I set it up when I'm ready to go live, and I break it down when I'm not, and I just set it to the side. So there's a whole bunch of different ways. We all have different backgrounds here. So they're going to talk about show presentation. They're going to talk about green screens. And again, what I love about this 5 days live is that we have different people from different backgrounds, different walks of life. You're going to hear different perspectives from it. It's impossible for us all. I guess we could all agree on everything, but that would kind of make the show vanilla and boring, and we're not going to be able to reach all of the audiences that are listening. So you guys tune in tomorrow. Again, it's at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific for those of us on the West Coast here, which is where I am. I had to get up early this morning for this, and I love it. It's a great topic. 3 a.m. for you. Okay. So from Marco. Okay, you guys 3 a.m. So
3 p.m. in the afternoon for us in Portugal and in Ireland and UK. Afternoon time. Woohoo! Friday afternoon.
Yeah, so tune in, share this with your friends, this YouTube channel, so that they can learn how to go live and monetize, go live and have fun, go live and interview people, go live and just share what they're doing. And step outside of your comfort zone. Do something different today than you did yesterday. Go live, have a great time. You guys, this is us saying goodbye, and 5 days live. We're going to be back in a couple months.
Bye-bye.
Replays in a couple of hours on Facebook. Woo!